April in New Orleans brings Jazz Fest to the world. It's a cultural celebration of music, food, and crafts that was organized 42 years ago to reflect the city as the birthplace of jazz. The fest is a dynamic showcase of Louisiana music with a bold blend of national and international entertainers. And the fest brings a taste of New Orleans to the world with its food presentations. This is the 42nd year of Jazz Fest that runs from April 29th through May 8th and is known as one of the world's greatest cultural celebrations. I'm here at the Louisiana Music Factory on Decatur Street. I'm joined today on stage by two people who bring their talent to Jazz Fest, one in music and one in food. On the music side is Mark Samuels, president of Basin Street Records. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for having me.
I understand that you represent a lot of performers at Jazz Fest with their music, and I know you're a star yourself off stage because Offbeat magazine has chosen you as one of the top 20 most influential people in the music industry here in Louisiana. Quite an accomplishment. Who do you bring to Jazz Fest this year?
Well, this year is going to be a great one. We've got Irvin Mayfield with the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra, but we also have Irvin Mayfield with Los Hombres Calientes, who haven't played together for quite a while. Kermit Ruffins, of course, will be there. Rebirth Brass Band will be there. Jeremy Davenport, Dr. Michael White. Four of those have new projects out on our label, so that's going to be great. And then, we've recorded Jason Marsalis in the past. He's out at Jazz Fest playing in all kinds of different collaborations, whether it's with his father Ellis or whether it's his own band. Also this year, Henry Butler and John Cleary, who have each recorded a few projects on the label, will be out at Jazz Fest. So we stay very busy out there every year. It's Jazz Fest is it's almost Christmas for our sales, from a sales standpoint, almost like Christmas for us. And we measure our year based on what's new this year for Jazz Fest.
Mark, what new projects do you have on the horizon at Basin Street Records?
Well, this year, just in time for Jazz Fest, we have four terrific projects. First of all, we have a project, Happy Talk, by Kermit Ruffins, which came out late last year, that'll be new for this year's Jazz Fest. It's a record that hit number 5 on the Billboard Jazz charts. We also have our first book. Irvin Mayfield wrote a book called A Love Letter to New Orleans. It's a really beautiful coffee table book with accompanying music, and it tells a lot of behind-the-scenes stories of what went on in his career recording with us. He did 10 different records with us, so it's a spotlight of his career with Basin Street Records. We also have a new project by Rebirth Brass Band. It's the first record we've done with them, and of course that band's been together for 27 years. It's called Rebirth of New Orleans. And Dr. Michael White has a brand new project, which I think at this moment is tentatively called Adventures in New Orleans Jazz Part 1. And got to hear it actually just the other day, and it should be out just in time for Jazz Fest. On May 4th, we're going to spotlight all of these new projects here at Louisiana Music Factory. We will be doing a 3-hour block of performances from noon to 3, starting with Kermit Ruffins at noon, and we will have all of the new product and spotlighted. This store is my favorite store in the world. They sell more product for us than anyone in the world, and I encourage people to come out and check it out.
Well, we'll see you here on May the 4th. Great concert ahead. Speaking of the diversity of the performers, there's everybody from Cyndi Lauper to Tom Jones, Willie Nelson, whether you like rock and roll, old music, new music, blues, Zydeco, whatever your taste, there's something for everyone at Jazz Fest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jazz Fest for me is, I've been a fan before I was ever in the music business. I was a fan, and I used to go out to the Jazz Fest and see Wynton Marsalis and Branford Marsalis back when I was in high school because I was friends of theirs, and back in high school I was in band with Wynton Marsalis, so I would go for those reasons and just as a fan. Now it's much more of a work day for me. I go from stage to stage with our artists. Generally I have at least one, if not 2 or 3 artists playing on the same day. I try to get my best to pick up some of those other styles of music and go see a Willie Nelson or a Dave Matthews or someone like that when I'm out there, if I can catch a few minutes here and there. But generally speaking, my day is focused on our artists out there. And our artists cover a wide number of genres, although they're all New Orleans based. We've got jazz and blues and R&B and soul and funk and rock. So you could just, with that little subset, you've got a big variety of music.
Well, New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz, and we think of Louis Armstrong back in the 1920s. But actually, jazz started in the late 1800s, goes way back. And Jazz Fest is just a gumbo of music. It's wonderful. Tell me something. What's it like to have a day at Jazz Fest as Mark Samuels?
Typically, I'll get out there pretty early, double check to make sure that the retail tent out at the fairgrounds has our product in stock, that the listening station is working, those sorts of things. Grab a crawfish bread, and then I'll go to our first artist performance. Generally, I'll introduce our artists on stage. It's something that's a big thrill for me to be able to stand in front of 15 or 20,000 people on one of the big stages and introduce one of our artists and tell people that that artist is going to be going to sign CDs after their performance and that sort of thing. It's a real thrill to do that. I've been able to do that now for most of the 13 years that I've been in the business.
So you really have an opportunity on or off the stage, don't you?
Right, and then it's accompanying the artists to their other responsibilities. Generally speaking, there's so much press in town that they all have interviews to do, and someone will catch them backstage and generally do some national interviews. So it's really just kind of making sure they get to where they need to be when they need to be there, and then move on to the next artist who's performing that day. I mean, on that final Sunday this year, we have Irvin Mayfield, Rebirth Brass Band, and Henry Butler, I believe. So it's that's going to be a day where I just go from responsibility to responsibility.
It's going to be a sensational year this year. And there's more to Fest than music. There's food, there's crafts, and speaking of food, I have one of the cooks here every year that goes to Jazz Fest, and his name is Fireman Mike. He's one of the New Orleans firefighters, and I'd like to introduce him. We'll be right back.
All right.